Namaskara, Namaskaram, Vanakkam. தமிழின் 2000 ஆண்டு இலக்கிய மரபில் தோன்றிய தமிழின் மாபெரும் எழுத்தாளரான ஜெயமோகன் அவர்களுக்கு அளிக்கப்பட்ட இந்த அங்கீகாரத்திற்காக புக் பிரம்மா நிறுவனத்திற்கும் அதன் தேர்வுக்குழுவிற்கும் தமிழ் இலக்கிய உலகின் சார்பாக என் நன்றிகளை தெரிவித்துக் கொள்கிறேன். Ladies and gentlemen, friends, good evening. It's my pleasure to thank Book Brahma and the prize jury for having conferred this Lifetime Achievement Award on Jeyamohan. He's one of the finest writers to have written in Tamil, to emerge from Tamil, and I'm delighted that you have chosen to honor him in your inaugural year. On behalf of Tamil literature, thank you. My name is Suchitra, and as a reader and a representative from Tamil literature, it gives me great pleasure. It's an honor to be sharing the stage today with Jeyamohan sir this evening and having this conversation with him. So congratulations, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a great moment for me. I'm thanking the Book Brahma organization for this award. And I was listening Mr. Hambe Nagaraju while he was speaking. I wish to be like him after 20 years. The energy, the enthusiasm. So witnessing him from the days is a great moment for me. Thank you for everybody.
Thank you, sir. Jeyamohan sir is no stranger to us readers from Tamil. He has written prolifically, extraordinarily in Tamil. And his mother tongue, incidentally, is Malayalam, and he has also written in Malayalam. So readers in Malayalam also know him. And recently, one of his major short story collections called Aram has been translated into Telugu, and the book was released today earlier. It's called Nemmi Neelam. And Telugu readers have known him through this collection, through the stories that have been published in various magazines, and he got to meet a lot of his readers today. And I believe there's a Kannada collection also coming out. So I don't think Jeyamohan is a stranger to our readers here. But let me start with a brief biography in order to introduce him to those of us who will read him in the near future. Jeyamohan was born in 1962 at Arumanai in Kanyakumari district. It's a border village between Kerala and Tamil Nadu. His mother tongue is Malayalam, but he had his formal education and now writes almost exclusively in Tamil. He wrote his first short story at the age of 13. At the age of 19, a friend of his died by suicide. And he was so disturbed by this event that he had to run away from home. He dropped out of college and wandered all over India for a few years, wearing ochre robes like a sannyasi. He lived with sannyasis in Kashi, Tiruvannamalai, and Parani. It was a period of a strong spiritual search. And around this time, both of his parents also committed suicide. So this period was one of great turmoil for him. And from that, he emerged as a writer. A significant event that he has often written about led him to anchor his life in writing. He decided that was his swadharma, that was what he would do for the rest of his life. And since then, Jeyamohan has written with an unsurpassed energy. He's the author of almost 43 novels, maybe more, over 300 short stories. He's written works on all kinds of topics. He's written travelogues. He's written plenty of literary criticism. He's one of the finest literary critics of contemporary Tamil literature. Works on politics, religion, spirituality, arts, culture. So all of this. So it's a pleasure and delight to be having this conversation with Jeyamohan sir today. So maybe that is a segue to my first question. Personally, one of the things that I find very inspiring about you is, I think I have never seen a writer who is more centered in themselves than you. At the same time, I don't think I've seen a writer who engages with the world outside of them as much as you do. You want to create change through literature. You want to influence through literature. For example, you have a blog called jeyamohan.in where you publish your work almost every single day. There's a new post every single day. And all of that eventually gets collected into books. So all of his writing is free for anyone to read on his website. You talk to your readers through your website. Then you have multiple activities. For example, you organize a lit fest in Tamil yourself, and you give awards to writers every year. You have now started an encyclopedia for Tamil culture called Tamil.wiki, and most recently you started a center for culture studies called Nityavanam, where you offer courses in religious studies, philosophy, arts and culture. And alongside, you continue your creative writing, and people know that his most enormous work is Venmurasu. You mount everything on a massive scale. So you wrote what, 26,000 pages in 26 volumes. Recently, I saw a picture of all those published books stacked, and he was standing next to it, and the books were slightly taller than him. So my first question is, why do you say writing is your swadharma? Why do you do this? What's your motivation?
Actually, we are calling modern literature in a specific meaning, that it is modernistic literature. Modernism pervades literature from 1951 and till 2000. Nearly 50 years, modernism is the main ideology of modern literature. In modernism, a writer is self-centric and essentially negative or cynical, and he writes only about himself and the world he is living. But that's not the character of a classical writer. We have a very big classical past, from Tolstoy to Thomas Mann. We have a very big classical past in the West, and even in Tamil Nadu. We have a very big classical past, from Bharati to Pudumapittan and Kanasu. And even in India, we can mention a lot of classical writers, like from Tagore to Sivaramakarand. I went to meet Sivaramakarand at 1984, and I bowed before him, and I told to myself that I am not going to be a modern writer. I am going to be writer like this. I am going to be a madman with 10 faces. Not a single face is not enough for us. So I am considered myself as a classicist, not a modern writer. In my perception, Kafka or Camus or Kobab, they are very minor writers. They wrote about their penury, their anxiety, and it is very limited. Who are they? They are just bubbles in history. Every person is a bubble, but who write about history, but the totality is the writer. So to me, Tolstoy is the writer, Thomas Mann is the writer, Sivaramakarand is the writer. So I try to write like him. And my inspiration points are like Bashir or Sivaramakarand. I wrote a lot about these others in Tamil, So all the classic writers, they are institution builders. They are epoch makers. And they are great activists too. They are great cultural activists, and they are great spiritual seekers, or they have very deep spiritual quest in them. So they are not writing their own anxiety. I mean, I use the word angst. So I am not a person on that genre. I would classify myself as a classicist. That's why I'm working in every field of literature. I'm writing criticism. I am writing novels. That's why I'm basically a novelist, because novel is a big form. Novel is a modern epic form. So a great poet cannot write small poetry. He has to write epic. Similarly, a modern writer should write novel if he is a classicist. So I wrote novels and articles. So I wrote a lot of books, and actually I know I created a single library out myself. Recently, one of my readers said, "We are not the readers of books. We are the readers of libraries."
Yeah.
So, but even now, I wrote less than Balzac. Balzac died at the age of 48 at 49, and he wrote more pages than me. He wrote an entire library. The European Comedy is a big collection of books, articles, novels, and everything. So I belongs to that genre. So I am writing that.
Thank you, sir. Maybe actually, when you say you're a classicist, that clarifies a few things for me. Maybe I can take a little time and explain how I discovered you and why you are such a important writer.
Actually, I am more interested to hear from you because you belongs to the next generation and you are reading mainly in English. So I want to understand your approach towards Tamil literature and Indian literature. That's more important to me.
I think, it's true, I started reading in English. And I think most of the books I was reading in my early youth were books that was popular among readers of my age. So yeah, I mean, literary fiction, I read Kafka and Marquez, Murakami, people like that. And then in Indian English authors. So a lot of what I read, I think, was shaped by the review culture. So there's, reviews in literary supplements that tell you what books to read, people who get invited to lit fests. So the culture when I was, I'm 35 and the culture about 14, 15 years ago was not very different, that there was a market for literature and that informed the reader what to read. But I think I was more adventurous and I had my own personal questions. So I wanted to read something more offbeat. So all this Anglophone writing, I wanted to see what else was there. And that's how I started to read translated fiction from various Indian languages. And then I started reading in Tamil. And then that's how I discovered you. I found a quality, especially in your writing, but it's also true for all the classical sort of writing that you mentioned, the masters. One is the fact that their writing is extremely, the quality of the writing, there is a rootedness in it. There is a great rootedness in it. And the way they write is very different from what I have read in the Anglophone world. By Anglophone world, I mean contemporary writing in the West, but also to some extent contemporary writing in India, in English. One is that when you read Anglophone writing, the writing is, I feel, very sanitized. The writer doesn't seem to be part of the world that they are describing. They are located somewhere else and they are writing about it from a distance. And, there is, the author is almost absent, that sense you get. But, when I read, and I mean, this is not just true for fiction that's coming from the Western contemporary times, it's also true for Indian writing in English. And to a large extent, the works that are being translated from Indian languages into English are also chosen with these values. There is a sense of sameness when you pick out books that are reviewed, that, they conform to the same type of political ideology. There is, you can take them by easy handles like gender or things like that. But I realized that a lot of this is market driven because at least in the last 15, 20 years, we live in a capitalist culture and book publishing has also become a capitalist industry. But when I read your books, what differentiated this from these Anglophone values as I think about them is, one, you don't seem to care about the market at all. You are not a market driven writer by any means. Second is, your works are extremely rooted. There is a real problem. There are real human beings with, who emerge out of a certain world, and you are able to create that world and create those people. And there is a writer with a vision. There is a human being who is central to all of this fiction you write, who's, today somebody mentioned, I think at the Nemi Neelam book launch, that when you read the book, you're able to discover Jeyamohan better through the stories. And that is the sense that you get. And through that, I am able to discover myself in some magical way, I don't know how. So this quality is what I want to explore. So I want to explore the form and aesthetics of your writing, how you achieve this effect, which is so different from these Anglophone or market-driven literature. So this is what I think makes you unique. One element that I found in your writing is there is a sense of a dramatic quality and an emotionality which probably, as you say, comes from the classical tradition. It's very rare to find this in Anglophone writing because Indians, I feel, we are very emotional people. Our private lives are very emotional and we deal with things in a very direct way. But our writing doesn't reflect that. But in your writing, there is always a kind of emotional engagement with characters. Can you please comment on this?
See, throughout the world, there is two kind of literature in every nationality. So I will refer some books. For example, one book, Waiting, written by Ha Jin. It's a Chinese work. Ha Jin worked in New York University and Columbia University, and he wrote a novel on China. He's a Chinese person. And another novel is the popular To Live. It made a very good movie. So you just compare the two books. The To Live is a very emotional and dramatic novel. But Ha Jin's Waiting is a very, very subtle and very, very balanced work. But in a way, it is very prosaic. It has no nuances. It is a created work. About Africa, things fall apart by Chinua Achebe. It's a cooked work. It's a balanced work without any emotion. It creates a tourist attraction for white people to look into Africa. But Ben Okri is originally African. In Japan, this Koba novel, Woman on Dunes, it is actually written for Western audience. It is written for Western audience. And there are a lot of original Japanese authors. So, what's the difference? In every language, there is one version cooked for Western tastes, and another one is original. And the original is actually prevailing, and gradually it is recognized by the people of other diaspora people too. And Nobel Prize Award is only given to the originals only, not the cooked ones. I will refer this as like Star Hotel Sambar. If you go to a dining party, there colored porridge will be there. It is not sambar. There is no flavor in it. There is a flavor of sambar only. It's not sambar. It's almost sambar, cooked for the taste of Westerners. So we have writing in that genre. A lot of Anglo-Indian, Indian English writers are actually writing for the Western norms and Western taste. Then only could it get published in English. And the readers of the Indian English writing belongs to upper class and educated, and mostly academicians from English departments of India. They used to read these kind of works only, without much emotion, controlled emotion, precise sentences, precise form, well edited. I used to say that if a work is really creative, it should not be very perfect. Perfection is an intellectual element. It is against creativity. There should be some anomaly in the text. If it is creative, today morning, Venkatesh was singing here. It is a very perfect form, and in the same time there is an aberrations of the form.
Yeah. And your writing has that too.
Continuously he is going out of the form, and he explores something and he is coming out. That's the pattern of good writing and good music and good art. You cannot find it in Indian English writing. It is almost an electronic circuit or factory-made product. It is very perfect, where finishing is important, not the core. So, in India, we are recognizing continuously this fake work which is created for Western taste. We have to create a new taste in India, particularly among the English reading public. We have to draw their attention to the original writing of India. Vibhuti Bhushan Bandyopadhyaya is actually the representative of Bengal, not Amitav Ghosh. That's the difference. We have to install it. We have to teach it to the English reading public. That's my point. So I would refer myself. I would take myself that I am a deep-rooted writer. See, I am coming from Tamil Nadu, and I am coming from Kerala culture. I am deep-rooted not in Tamil Nadu. I am deep-rooted in Kanyakumari district. This bilingual. And I am designed by Kathakali. And Kathakali has a high emotional, dramatic quality. Its expressions are loud. So why should I avoid it in my writing? Because some Westerners won't accept it. And it is also illusion. And you know, my writing is going to shook the world within few years. It is going to be published within few years. So they would appreciate it. They are in search of originality. But we are producing fake writing to entertain them.
I mean,
so I am an emotional person. I am coming from an emotional culture, and my art is emotional. If you're a South Canara person writing a very balanced work, I won't accept him, because Yakshagana is loud, Yakshagana is emotional, Yakshagana is dramatic. So there is no emotion in your writing. So our art is like that. Our art is expressive. So I am an expressive person. Yes, I have layers, historical and philosophical layers in my work. My work is very subtle and multi-layered. At the same time, it is emotional. Then only I can communicate with my people. I am here to express the emotions of my people. I am not catering for Western audience.
Right.
If they are interested to read my language, my culture, they have to come towards me. I want to go towards them. I have no obligation to teach, or I have no obligation to entertain any other person again, other person from our culture. I'm talking to my culture.
I think, yeah, this is something we are seeing all over the world, that there's very little effort in contemporary times to engage with another culture, to enter another culture and learn from it, as opposed to wanting something that is easy to handle being served on your plate. And you have held on to these values all through your writing, and you have stood so steadfast on it. When you talk about emotionality, it goes back to all the classical traditions that I can think of, because all our languages have some art, classical art form, like music or dance, pure art that we can go back to. And I think that's why we are all so emotional people anyway. But we also have very deep-rooted archetypes in our art forms, in our literature. And one aspect of your writing is how you are able to, almost like bringing it from the bottom of the ocean. You're able to retrieve those archetypes and make it relevant. It's still here. Those archetypes are still relevant in your life, is what you're telling the reader. For example, in your major novel, Venmurasu, there is a very iconic scene. There's the scene in which Draupadi is being disrobed in the assembly. And in the traditional mold, that scene is taken to be one where, it's Krishna's divine grace that saves her, and it is her bhakti that is being highlighted there. But here, you take that metaphor of Draupadi's sari and you make it something else, because the saris are actually, she's being saved by all the Kaurava women. They are throwing their saris at her. So all those multi-layered saris now becomes a symbol of female solidarity. There is a multi-layer, the multicolored sari has become something much more than what the traditional image already has that quality in it. But when you write it this way, it makes it very contemporary and modern. And you are a classicist, you are emotional, and you are somehow able to find the emotion in that image and bring it out. What is your process? How do you discover these things?
I have to classify the balance in two ways. One balance is modernistic balance, the balance of modernists. It is articulated balance. It is fake balance. They believe that a modern man is not emotional. He is skeptical on emotions. That's why we have to control our emotion. That's why these modern writers controlling their emotion. It is fake. But there is a balance in classic. A classic balance is actually the balance of the author who know that life is not one-sided. For every emotion, there is another side. That's why he is balanced. You can see that balance in great classics. My motivation is create that kind of classical balance. So how a classic work creates balance in it? It creates two or three things. One is archetypal. Being archetypal helps them to maintain a classical balance. And another thing is juxtaposing opposites and creating a multiple face of any event. That will make. So I am writing Venmurasu, but I am not vilifying Duryodhana. To me, Duryodhana is also a classic character. Duryodhana is a hero. So I am telling the states of the Krishna and Duryodhana and Yudhishthira at the same time. Then it creates a balance. And the third one third one is using an abstract form of art is a way to create balance in a classic art. So, yesterday one Pandit sang Ragam Tanam Pallavi here in this stage. Ragam Tanam Pallavi has absolutely no emotion. It's a play only. But it expresses the Raga Bhava of that Raga through that Tanam Pallavi. It will create a balance. It keeps the other away. And the Raga only is here. The emotion of Tyagaraja or the emotion of Purandara is not in the song. The emotion of the singer is not in the song. The Raga Bhava only in the song. It is kind of abstraction. These three ways makes a work very balanced. So I always very careful not to express too, because too much of expression is against art.
Exactly.
Yeah. I am not romantic. I am classic. I am classicist. So romantic never controls his emotion. And I accept it is a kind of writing. But I am not romantic. I am a classicist. So I always has an eye to control the emotion. Because I should not tell too much. I should not express too much. To control that emotion, I use three devices. One is archetypal, and another one is this classical balance of events and characters, and the third one is abstraction. Through this, I am creating the balance.
I'm reminded of your iconic novel called Neelam. It is also in the Venmurasu series. The series is based on the Mahabharata, and he has also included the story of Krishna in it. But it's a young Krishna, almost like a Bhagavata Krishna. But it is actually the story of Radha. But you go into that story, but you juxtapose it against the story of Kamsa.
Yeah.
And the way you have written it is it's almost like music. I don't think that novel is translatable because of how musical it is in Tamil. So I think a poet maybe can do it. But it's what you mentioned. It's very balanced. But there is one but the entire novel is written in a language that could escape form at any moment. Yeah. So this is very, very strange, but very the balance creates the knowledge in us that we didn't know that we had. So
that's the way of classics. For example, Venkatesh Kumar was singing a song, Yellow. He can express his emotions, but he cannot go beyond that raga. The raga structure he can extend. He cannot go beyond that raga. That's the form. There is always a place. You can call it as a playground. The rules of the playground is already defined by the classic rules. You cannot go beyond that. So Neelam can be easily go towards romanticism because it talks about the divine love of Radha and Krishna. It is not there in Mahabharata. Radha character is emerged. Radha is not in Mahabharata. It is not in Bhagavata either. Radha character is actually created by Vallabhacharya, very later period. Maybe at 13th or 14th century it emerged, and it emerged somewhere from South India, maybe in Tamil Nadu or Andhra. Vallabhacharya belongs to Andhra. He travelled all the way to Brindavan and he stayed there. He made Radha is an iconic character. So I am using the icon Radha Krishna. So in my novel, I narrated like this. The name of Krishna is created by Radha. The peak of feather is given by Radha. The flute is given by Radha. The entire Krishna icon is actually created by Radha out of a child. Radha means one who worship. The worshipper created the God. That's the idea of Neelam. That's the idea of Visishtadvaita. Prabhati is creating Vishnu, not Vishnu creating Prabhati. Prabhati is the creator of Vishnu. Vishnu's Kalyana Rupa is actually created by Prabhati. That's the idea. So it can easily go towards romanticism. So these portions are actually very uncontrolled prose. It is very emotional and very poetic and very, it has a linguistic expression in that, pure linguistic expression. So I have to control this. So I juxtapose the story of Kamsa with these characters, and I merged it and I collected it in the end and gave a perfect ending. So it has a classical pattern. That's the way of classics. So Jayadeva is not a classic. Okay? Jayadeva is romantic. Jayadeva is romantic. But our major epic writers are very, very balanced, and that's called classical balance.
Classical balance. On the first day of your speech, you mentioned a term called spiritual romanticism, and it's a very strange term, because for us, romanticism evokes 19th century British poetry. But you're talking about something else. Maybe you're going back to the Upanishads. I don't know. What is spiritual romanticism? Do you think your writing has this?
Yeah, I would specify my writing as some parts, at least, as spiritual romanticism. Why spiritual romanticism? That word is romanticism. You can define romanticism as suspension of your intellect to an extent. I would give you a simile. You have a javelin in your hand. You are running at your maximum speed. Then you are throwing it away. You throwing. The throw is romanticism. You are throwing up at the height of your logic, and you are throwing it a little bit away. So romanticism, unless you throw the javelin, you cannot reach God, or you cannot reach the spiritual height. So it is a romantic element. Without that romantic element, you cannot have spiritualism in your mind. Spiritualism is essentially illogical. But you cannot be illogical from the beginning. You should be very logical in the beginning. Slowly you are throwing away the javelin at the end. While the speed increases, at the height of the speed, you are throwing it towards the point. That is, and that's the simile for romanticism. That is spiritual romanticism. For actually, spiritualism is itself a romantic thing. It's not logical. There should be a madness in it.
You know, I don't think I have read any literature, even written in Indian languages, very few, that deals with such subjects. You know, and today, and especially in today's political climate, when a religion enters fiction, it is often treated in a prosaic manner. People talk about it, they caricature it, or they make fun of it, or they satirize it. But you know, as an Indian,
I know that because majority of Indian writers believe that Western readers are against Hindu religion. So they are hiding their religious beliefs, and they never use any Hindu metaphors in their works. If they use it in a negative way. That's not true. I am traveling throughout US all the years, and I know Western people. They are not essentially against Hindu religion, but these Indian writers, they believe there should be anti-religion or religious. Then only they can be accepted by the modern public.
But I don't think it's just.
So, for example, I know Asokamitran, a great Tamil author, is a great devotee of Hanuman. Once I was in a troubled condition, and he wrote to me how to make meditation, how to do meditation of Hanumanda. But you cannot find any trace of his bhakti in his writing. He's consciously he is editing it out. That's a modern tendency, modernistic tendency. A modern writer never claims the continuation of Vyasa or Jayadeva or Kumaradeva in his writing. But I am confident, and I will claim that heredity. I am the continuation of Vyasa and Subramanya Bharati or Kamban. So I am not the continuation of any Western author.
This tendency to suspect religion, I feel it's also there in Western Anglophone literature.
Another thing I would say, religion is a wrong word. Because religion is the word coined by Westerners to refer organized beliefs. Okay. So Hinduism is not organized belief. You can call Madhva order as a religion. You can call Ramanuja order Sri Marga as a religion. But there is nothing called Hindu religion. It's not an organized order. It is not an organized faith in it. There is no system in it. There is no central point. So the word religion is wrong. So Hinduism is a grand collection of metaphors, archetypes, and beliefs, and innumerable art forms. So the entire Indian culture is collected in the form of Hindu religion as hand over to you. So if you are ignoring it, just afraid of the name religion, it is a foolish thing. So I am traveling through various parts of India to see prehistoric monuments. There are a lot of magnificent prehistoric monuments in Karnataka also. Prehistoric Stone Age monuments. And there is a unavoidable connectivity between today's religion and these prehistorical monuments. You can see a lot of icons, religious icons in this prehistorical monument, particularly the dancing pujari, the dancing worshipper, and elephants, and a lot of metaphors. How can you? So religion is actually connecting me with the Stone Age person, lived in India, and with his subconscious. So it is important for me. I want to connect with that Stone Age person, not to any Western theoretician. So if I am writing something which is very close to the Stone Age, I feel that's the correct way of writing expression.
What you are saying as not religion, but this feeling that you're talking about, it's very different from what is being called religion in the hyper nationalist climate of our country.
You know that I am deadly against this religious politics, and I am very, very, very strong critic of this religious politics and this thing called Hinduism. So I am deadly against it because they have a monolithic belief which is totally against what is called Hindu faith. So I cannot accept them.
When you say you are a Hindu, then what is it that you specifically
So I used to say one thing: I am against BJP because I am a Hindu.
Okay, fair enough. You know, there is not just there's an aspect of if you're born Indian, if you're born in this country, in any part of this country, I think you are born into a cultural world, whether you are personally religiously observant or not, in whatever sense religious. You have a culture that comes along with you, whether you're born in a Christian family in Kerala or whether you're born in a Muslim family in Gujarat. There is some culture that you are hooked into. There will be arts, there will be music that's connected to the world that you live in. Your work is one of the very few contemporary works that I read where these cultural roots are constantly referred to and used as images. For example, there's a very nice short story that you have written centering on Kalameluthu, the Keralite temple art form as a basis. You have written about Duryodhana and Vadam in another place. So things like this, or Kaniyan Kuthu. This constant engagement with cultural art forms, what does it give you? Do you see it as religious or
no? It's not religious. Actually, I said religion is a system where all kind of images, wisdom, and archetypes are collected and handed over to you. So you cannot avoid it. Religion is not religion is just a case. The material is culture. So I am taking the culture. I am not a believer or not practicer of any religion. I never worship in any temples. I will refer myself as an Advaiti. My guru is an Advaiti. He is a non-worshipper. Pure Advaita is my faith. So I never believe any kind of religious rituals. So, but still, I can understand a religious ritual. I can easily say, is it Vaikanasa Agama or Panjaratra Agama? That's very important for me because it is culture. It's not religion.
And you try to connect it to its prehistoric roots.
Prehistorical roots. Another one is, the connectivity is not directly connected with the known images. For example, I am very deeply emotionally connected with Khoja Moinuddin Chishti of Ajmer. I used to go there. I worship there. There is no cultural connectivity between Khoja Moinuddin Chishti and me. It is, I cannot explain it. I visited at the age of 24 and I got a spiritual experience there. I lost myself there and continuously I am going there. And my entire family is going to Ajmer. And my son wrote a novel about Khoja Moinuddin Chishti, Al-Qissa. It's a very popular novel. So, what is the connectivity? So, the connection is there. It is a cultural connection. And beyond that, there is a connection which cannot be explained by a writer logically. It is not visible. Some kind of connection is there. That's all. To me, Khoja Moinuddin Chishti is very close to me, like any other Hindu saint. So, I cannot say what's the difference.
Can I venture a question? Do you think that what you are creating is almost an Indian aesthetics? Maybe each culture has its own aesthetics. When we say Western aesthetics, we are actually talking about something that's rooted in a particular thought tradition and cultural tradition that emerged in various parts, various countries, various languages. But here, is what you are saying? Do you think that you are creating an Indian?
There is Indian aesthetics. For example, I can define like this: if there is a Western aesthetics, there is a dialectics in it. One is the Aramic culture, I mean Christian culture, and another one is the Greek culture and Greek Rome culture. Western aesthetics is made up of these dialectics, Aramic culture versus Greek culture. Similarly, in India, we have two cultures in India. One is our folk culture. I wrote a lot about our folk culture. And another one is our classical culture. I would say Kathakali and Yakshagana are the perfect blend of these two cultures. You can see, so Yakshagana is they are going to perform Yakshagana here. I am a great fan of Yakshagana. I worked in Kasaragod, and it is very close to South Kannada. So if you are watching Yakshagana or Kathakali, you are watching a classic art and a folk art at the same time. That is the dialectics of Indian aesthetics. If a thing is purely classical, in a way it is Indian. If it is purely folk, it is also Indian. But it is more creative if there is a blend. If there is a creative blend. That is Indian culture and Indian aesthetics. So what I am doing, I am trying to revive it. I am trying to create a modern or postmodern, or to be precise, a transmodern version of.
What does that mean?
Transmodern is beyond postmodernism. That's another technical term. Transmodernist. Transmodern is, you can say simply defined like this: a postmodernism with beliefs in values is transmodernism. Okay. A transmodern or postmodern version of Indian aesthetics. So, if it is Indian aesthetics, there should be two basic elements in it: folk and classic. Folk art become classic art, and in the heart of classic art, there should be always a folk element. You know a popular story of Gunatya. You heard about him. Gunatya wrote an epic in Paisajika language, and he tried to present it in a king's court, and the major poet dismissed it. He went to forest and he was burning the leaves of his epic. And suddenly the king came to the forest. That's the story. And he saw the animals are standing still and watching some song. And he went to that place and saw Gunatya is burning his leaves. And finally he captured some versions, but Gunatya jumped into the fire and he died. That story shows one thing: anything which is very original must have a tribal folk root. There should be a Paijajika element in every classic art.
But these elements that you talk about, you are almost creating this aesthetic single-handedly. And today in Tamil, at least, I see a lot of emerging writers they're influenced by certain elements of your entire body of work, and they are building on it. So they take one, so there's a writer who may be influenced by the folk elements, and then they may try to build a world out of it. Another writer is empowered by idealism, and they go off on it. So this is happening. On the other hand, we have a tradition in Tamil, at least, of modernist writers like Ashok Mitran. Do you think their writing is any less Indian in that sense? When you say Indian writing, how do you...
Yes, they are less Indian, no doubt. So they narrated Indian life. That's why we cannot avoid them. But they are not Indian. Ashok Mitran is very close to William Saroyan or Hemingway than Subramanya Bharati or Kamban. So naturally he is Western. So I am a great admirer of your Anandamurthy. But I would say S.L. Bhairappa is Carnatic, real Kannada writer. Anandamurthy is a Western writer. Anandamurthy is writing from Bengaluru, and Bhairappa is writing from Mysore, somewhere. So that's more important to me. So I am mentioning the difference. That difference is very important. Yes, but Anandamurthy wrote deep problems of Karnataka psychology, particularly this Samskara, Kadasrata, and Pandavapura are very original, but still they are Western. Still they are Western. And Bhairappa is more Carnatic. So that difference you cannot suspend it. The difference is there. And writing like me is not easy. I am an ardent reader of philosophy and history. I can talk about Indian and Tamil history and Indian philosophy. I am conducting philosophy classes.
Yes.
I traveled throughout India for more than 40 years continuously, and even today I am traveling continuously. And I am almost well acquainted with all forms of Indian arts, Kathakali or Yakshagana or Kannada sing or Western music or Hindustani music. So this great erudition and acquaintance with the high art needed to create a classic art. So not every other writer can write like this. He has to go all this way to write. A lot of writers are locked in their day-to-day lives. They have to work in some places. They have to earn some money, and they have some time to write. They can only write few stories from their personal life and their surroundings. So you cannot compare them with me easily. So you cannot compare anybody with Bhairappa very easily. To write a book like Parva, you should know a lot about Mahabharata and how to suspend that knowledge to write a novel. Both things are very important.
Understood. You started your life thinking you will become a Vivekananda. You have told me that story. But then you became a writer. And then you speak about spiritual romanticism. And you are rooting yourself in trying to find what you call that spirituality through these images. You're not religious conventionally, but you try to find what you call spirituality through the devices of art, through images, through sounds, through language.
Yeah. At the age of 19, I left my home and became a mendicant or sannyasi. I traveled all the way and I left it. And then I met my guru, Nitya Chaitanyadi. And I spent a lot of years on practicing various kind of yogas in the wrong way. Actually, I practiced everything in the wrong way. And I met Nitya Chaitanyadi. And after a few years, I asked him to teach me the real yoga. And he said, you are a creative writer. Creative writing is a process of making a soap into bubbles. Meditation is just opposite. You have to make bubbles into soap. That's not possible. So your way is not meditation. You have another tool, which is imagination and creative writing. So creative writing is your way of yoga. You practice it. And to help that creative writing, you can do some practices. So which I am doing it. I can call it Prakriti Yoga. It has some elements in it. So I never meditate. Meditation is not my way. Yoga is not my way. But creative writing is my yoga. So once I once told in an interview that what yoga or what dhyana to Buddha is literature to me. No less. I have no idea that literature is no less than meditation of a saint. So it is a way of meditation. It's a way of self-attainment. To be precise in Vedanta's word, is the way to self-realization. Attain self-realization is the way of writing also. Writing is the tool. So it's a vocation. It's not an entertainment. It's not an intellectual exercise. It's a kind of practicing oneself to attain self-attainment.
You know, this is a very inward journey. But when I see you, there is a balance again. I think balance is the word that characterizes you, both your writing and your life. There's a balance, this inwardness in your writing. But then there is an outwardness that is there in your activities and also your idealism. So, for example, a collection like Aram.
It is already
Is it time?
Sir.
Can someone give me we have a little more time or are we done? 5 minutes. Okay. Maybe this is I can keep this as the last question. Through Aram, the collection that's most familiar to the people here, Stories of the True or Nemmi Neelam, this is, there is an idealism that permeates your work, at least post-Aram, that's always been there, but that I think emerged in Aram in a very significant manner and has continued. Can you give us a little bit of your outer life?
Idealism. I can say the idealism of Aram, I mean this Nemmi Neela collection, as moral idealism. Moral idealism is the initial stage of idealism. The high level idealism is spiritual idealism. That is a little more. In the spiritual idealism, there is no ethics, there is no moral. It is something above that. Ramana Maharshi has no morals of human beings. He never practiced any charities. You cannot refer him you cannot mention him as a charitable person. It is spiritual, this is ethical idealism, moral idealism. So, I have to write about moral or ethical idealism towards people. I am talking to the common man through that. If I am talking to myself, I won't talk in the language of ethical idealism. I would like to talk about spiritual idealism towards myself. And that's the way of writing. Writing has various purposes. See, a writer is a bard. Yes, today I told bard, B-R-D, bard. He is a singer. He has to sing about great heroes. He has to sing about great warriors and saints to install them in culture and memory. That's his duty. That's why I did in Aram. But that is not only my only duty. I have to sing for my salvation and the salvation of the humanity. That's also my duty. So I am a bard singing for the public and for me and for humanity. I am a bard. So nothing more, nothing less. Vyasa is a bard, he is a singer, and I am also a singer, a bard. Thank you for everybody.
On that note, I think we can wrap up. Thank you very much, sir, for your time and conversation. Thank you.
ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಬಂದರು, ಹೋದರು, ಸಂತೋಷಪಟ್ಟರು, ಖುಷಿಪಟ್ಟರು, ಭೇಟಿ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಒಳ್ಳೊಳ್ಳೆ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳಾಯಿತು, ಎಷ್ಟು ಜನ ಸ್ಪಾನ್ಸರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಅಲ್ವಾ ಶಿವಾಲಿ?
Yes, let me thank them. Yes,
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಮಾಡ್ಬೋದಾ ಅವ್ರಿಗೆ?
Yeah. Finally, thanking our partners of all the 3 days. Platinum partner, Ramaya University, University of Applied Science. Our golden partner, ELSITA, ELSIA, Karnataka Tourism. Silver partner, Pali Institute, Kalaburgi, Prarthana World School. Our associate partners, MG Motor, Sapna Book House, SALT, Sheshadripuram Educational Trust, Kaveri Hospital, Selco, Siri and Kaveri Emporium. Our session partners Abharana, Alvas, Andolana, Ankita Pustaka, Bhavani Industries, Blossoms, Siddhalingeshwara Book Depot, Harivu Books, Kambada Kone, Polestar, Shraddhas, Tallurs, Tescom, Vidyarthi Bhavana and She SR. Our print media partners Prajavani, Deccan Herald, Mathrubhumi, Andhra Jyoti, radio partner Big FM, digital media partner South First and institutional partners Alvas Modubidre, NMKRV and Surana Educational Institutions. A big thank you to all our sponsors.